Have you ever heard of a Maisonneuve injury before? Because I have not. In this episode, my buddy Steve breaks down what a Maisonneuve injury is, how he got this injury, what this injury is, the recovery process of this injury, along with just how he feels in the process of having the injury. And he gets into a couple other medical details that we divulge in this episode. So I think it's a really interesting episode because this is not just an injury that your average Joe gets. Steve is also just a very athletic person. He's someone that I've spent a lot of time skateboarding with. And when we did this episode, I was prepared for it to be a skate injury. I told him to kind of withhold it until the episode. And it turned out it was a hockey injury, and I actually have the footage. So I'll try to show the footage early on so you can see how it happened. He'll break it all down. And yeah, it's a fun episode. So I'll cut right over to us talking. Enjoy this episode. What's going on? What's happening with your injury
Dude,
here?
Mac. Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, man. I've been out of commission for a good minute, and I find it funny that skateboarding for 22 years, and oddly enough, it was actually hockey that took me out for a while as well. So I traded one contact sport for another one. But yeah, man, it was probably my first major injury, which no one ever wants to go through.
So this is all hockey injury, huh?
Yeah. So
Wow.
we could probably clip it too, but just was in a regular sort of beer league game and whatnot, and just started kind of doing that as like kind of a different hobby outside of skateboarding,
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. And I've been doing that for about a year and a half, 2 years, and just got a little overzealous on kind of a quick back check, and just was going way too fast. And if there's anything I learned, those end boards do not bounce. So I
Oh
went straight
man.
into that, and ended up what ended up with a Maisonneuve fracture.
A
Most people
what?
have never heard of it.
I've
It's called
never
a
in my life
Mason.
heard of that.
Yeah, it's a Maisonneuve fracture. So it's a pretty rare fracture type out of generally ankle fractures, and it's pretty known in hockey because it just based on the skate blade and whatnot, because your ankle is basically stabilized, but basically what happens is all that force has to go somewhere, right?
So
So
it's still a
um,
skate. It's a skate injury.
it's a skate injury. You're right. Technically, you're not wrong. So yeah, man, I ended up kind of slamming into those boards pretty quickly. And I ended up twisting going down. So I ended up doing a chip on the back of my tib. I ended up with five torn ligaments total. So a lot of soft tissue injury. And then because I was twisting, and we can show up the x-ray too, because I was twisting, all of that force ended up snapping my fib, like near my knee. So yeah, I didn't realize how bad it was. The adrenaline was kind of pumping. But I knew it was bad, but I think until I got to the hospital and saw the x-ray, I was like, ooh, yeah, it's
Oh, have you ever
we
injured
did we did
yourself?
some damage.
Have you ever injured yourself this bad ever before?
No, nothing that would
Like you've had
ever do
surgeries on
surgery.
like a wrist surgery or anything like that, or is this your first
The
go
only
about?
the only surgery that I did have outside of skating was I ended up knocking out this tooth, so I did have to get oral surgery to get this tooth pulled back, basically. So that's
Oh.
probably the gnarliest injury I've had from skating. But anything other than that, other than stitches and maybe getting some oral surgery on the tooth, this was definitely by far away the most invasive surgery I've needed.
Damn, dude, that's crazy. So it's like it took one foray for you to go out of skateboarding
So
to get this injury, and it probably sucks because you'd want to. I'd imagine you're thinking, all right, hypothetically, you wish you could skate. Like this was something that was maybe like a wrist injury or something that you could just go off and skate.
right,
Now that you're out of commission with your feet,
right.
I guess you couldn't skate because your feet.
Right,
See,
right. And then to make it worse, I'm goofy, so it's my right ankle too
you're
as
right.
well. So
So
it's
it's like if it were a wrist
yeah, so
injury,
it's
you
my
could skate still, but you're
right.
just totally out of commission at this point because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a bummer.
yeah,
That's a bummer. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it is what it is, because it's one of those things where I don't think I fully realized the extent of the injury until I got to the surgeon and whatnot, and once they did the X-ray and they're like, "Yep, you're gonna need surgery." And when you hear that, it's a little jarring, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
the reality doesn't really set in when it happens. It's always the couple weeks after, because realizing that you're gonna have to adjust to a new normal. And I don't think I fully anticipated that, because of essentially what happens is that you need to go through surgery but be non-weight bearing for 6 to 8 weeks.
Whew.
Yeah.
Oh
So
man. So what is it?
even doing
Wheelchair? Is that what
oh,
that
go ahead.
means? Or what does it mean
What was
like
that?
what does it mean for mobilization then since no weight bearing?
Yeah, so you're basically given crutches. You really have to kind of depend on a lot of help from others, like as far as getting mobile or getting to and from your surgeon appointments as well. Um, my luckily my girlfriend was amazing in supporting me through this as well. Because if it wasn't for her, I would be really,
Oh.
really down the dumps here. I'd be yeah, so it's I mean, she was a big help, just getting me to and from the appointments and on top of just her busy schedule. So I mean, truly like just was like one of those situations where you can't do it alone. And normally, I don't know if you can relate to this, like you're so used to doing things independently. So for that
Yeah.
loss of independence to happen, especially when you're just trying to even do basic tasks, like just making yourself a bowl of cereal in the morning is like Herculean when you can't bear weight because unfortunately for me, my apartment has like stairs and whatnot, so like
Oh.
it's really like a workout. Um,
Oh. How are you getting up the with
yeah,
crutches up the stairs?
yeah, oh yeah,
Oh,
yep,
what's that? Man, that's getting some upper body strength going up the
yeah, like dude,
stairs.
like literally, like dude, I'm using the kitchen counters like a jungle gym just to get to the
What
dishwasher,
week are
you
you
know.
on? What week of
Um,
this?
what was that?
What week of this are you on? Like you said
I'm
6 to 8
probably like
weeks.
week 4, like maybe like, and that's the thing too is that your body adjusts, right? So like what was different is that we actually had to wait for surgery because the doctor or the surgeon needed the swelling to go down. So it looked like a softball was coming out of my
Oh
ankle,
god.
basically. So because I just tore in all the ligaments, like so like there was pretty much like a complete tear of like my inner deltoid ligament, total tear of my syndesmosis, ATFL, PTFL, and then like obviously I've got the broken tib, which was fractured. Luckily with the bones, like those were going to heal on their own, but the soft tissue is what kind of drives that healing timeline way longer. Just so it's more than just a complete sprain. The best way my surgeon described it was like think of like your ankle as like a door hinge. You basically the door's still on the frame, but you basically like tore the hinge off, basically.
Oh god. Wait, so
Yeah.
is this okay, so for like I guess people like myself that aren't very well I versed on injuries really.
Mhm.
What is this like akin to in like the world of skating? Like is this like, people get like they like break their ankle? Is this like anything similar to like breaking your ankle or is this like what is like a frame of reference that I mean you described it with the door hinge, right? But like is it like how much different is this than if you were to like totally bust your ankle skating?
I feel like 'cause normally if you're doing like just usually when you roll your ankle for skating, it can be a pretty bad sprain, but it's usually like a partial tear or like a grade 2, grade 3. Like I had multiple ligaments involved that like basically think of like the ropes holding together your ankle. Like I tore like most, if not all of them to some degree or another. So the good news is that like with the surgery for the tightrope is
Yeah.
basically they needed to sort of marry the tib and fib. So what think of your tib and fib or like your ankle as like a wishbone. What
Yeah.
happened is that force kind of like separated the tib and fib like at the
Oh
corner where your
god.
ankle meets. So what that ligament is called the syndesmosis. That was a complete tear. So they needed to basically bring things back together through like a tightrope, which is nice because it's kind of meant for more natural motion. It's literally just a plate on my fib. We'll show it on the X-rays too, but they basically just drill holes through your tib and fib just so that they can kind of tighten things up a little bit. It is meant to stay in there permanently, but it really just provides like a good structure for your ligaments to heal naturally. So
Oh
I was pretty
god.
surprised with how bad the injury was, that it was just a tightrope as well, but it is kind of meant for like active or athletes to kind of have. So as far as like hardware is concerned, I actually got kind of lucky on that front. Um, so the good news is that at least for more natural motion, we really just got to work those soft tissues back to pre-injury,
Mhm.
and then I'm still kind of in the throes of kind of getting past that, so I can kind of get skate ready and back on the ice and what have you.
Is it now okay, so to I guess backtrack a little bit. So that injury does that make you feel like you shouldn't be like playing as much ice hockey then because of this? Or do you think you're going to recover from it and want to get back on the ice? Or like, how does this impact, I know I'm not to go too far off topic, but like,
Mhm.
how does
Mhm.
this impact how you view like both, I guess, going back on the skateboard and going back on the ice? Like, are you like, man, maybe I'll do one or the other, or you still feel the same about it?
It's you ask a skateboarder, and it's just never. It's not a matter of if, just a matter of when and how long you can get back on the board. Like, there's no
Okay.
question, I'm going back. And
Okay.
honestly, this
Cool.
injury definitely kind of really forced. Like, I know this is kind of overused a lot, but there is like a level of gratitude when that gets really like taken away from you. You realize how precious it is just to even roll and just to roll around and just be free on that.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I think with how busy like everyone gets, I was kind of getting a little. I was taking it for granted. I think like most people, especially if you've done it for so long,
Yeah.
because most people don't think something like this is going to happen until it does, right? So I literally am working day in and day out with my PT to make sure that I'm back on the board and back on the ice. The good news is, as gnarly as this injury was, there definitely is a recovery timeline, about 90-95% recovery, which is great. I know that some people aren't always as lucky. Like, you do have like a raw loss of range of motion, or like it impacts kind of the quality of your life permanently.
Ooh.
Um, but I'm very lucky in the sense that, as bad as it was, and it's a very long timeline, I'm likely, hopefully, going to be maybe lightly skating again in like maybe early June, as
Okay.
well. So
Okay.
just kind of taking it slow, because the
We're in
real
April
recovery is
now.
more like 9 months instead of the 4 to 6.
Mhm.
4 to 6 to kind of just get back to basics, and then more like 9 months to kind of go stronger than pre-injury.
Oh my
But I'm very
god.
lucky that I'm at least got a light at the end of the tunnel for this
I mean,
injury.
I guess the reason why I framed that question earlier and now asked this is because you said you're going to be board ready, but I also brought it into skating because you are going to go back to
Right,
skating.
right,
And then I asked you about being akin to what skate
right,
injury, and you brought up sort of like you started by saying an ankle roll.
right,
So I guess what I'm
right.
asking you is, now that you know you're going to be skating too, does that make an ankle roll like the worst thing that could possibly happen to you now if you skate? So if you roll your ankle, it's like game over. You're done.
I wouldn't say that it would like it's like a dire cast, because like the surgery that I had like does stabilize your ankle like very firmly.
Mhm.
But it's definitely not good. So
So let me ask you
the
this. Let
big
me ask you this. If we
yeah.
were out skating, let's say, I don't know, a ledge spot, and all of a sudden
Mhm.
you roll your ankle, is that like a let me just chill out and I can skate again kind of thing, or is that like a let me go home? I gotta be done skating for the rest of the day type of thing
I
now.
would say it's more the former. I mean, I think the good news is, at least with this prognosis, I do need to be more mindful of it, I would say.
Okay.
But that's also based on how much work that I'm doing in the background, right? Like, how much PT am I doing? Like, just getting things kind of more skate ready. And if I'm being honest, like I think most skateboarders can relate to, you're not really doing as much PT as you should. Skateboarding is the workout, but when you
Hmm.
look at guys like Mean Williams and what have you that have really taken it to a new level, like, especially as you get older, and you have these injuries start kind of stacking up, you really do need to sort of invest in sort of that health and wellness. Like, I know nobody likes to be a gym rat too much, but it really does pay dividends, because even in the short time that I've been doing PT, um, I mean, dude, like literally a month and a half ago, I couldn't walk unassisted, and I'm walking freely now, which is
Okay.
great. So those are those daily deposits that you need to make. So as far as like re-injury, obviously something you want to avoid, but that's really entirely dependent on how much work that I do to make sure that I'm in that skate shape, in that ice
Mm.
hockey shape as well. So just being more mindful going forward.
So when you're now gonna get back on the ice after it, is there any like, I guess, preventable things? And I know you said, it obviously there's stuff that just like skating, just like anything else, you can't prevent things, but is there
Right.
things that they said maybe next time you're nice, wear this like wrap around your ankle, or maybe, be cautious of being against a board, or like in a hockey, is there things that you're thinking in your head now preemptively, like
Yeah.
next time I'll try this, or vice versa?
Right. 100% biggest thing is that I really, just kind of looking back at the footage, I just should not have been going that fast, as
Oh.
well. Like, just,
Oh.
kind of in the heat of the moment, you kind of just react, especially with how fast of a game like hockey is.
Yeah.
But the thing that I would say with that is that just be mindful of your speed, because I think you kind of don't, especially as skateboarders too, you kind of think like, oh yeah, this to you like jumping down like a rail or a stair set or whatnot, like that's just normal, right? But you kind of just totally forget the risk factor that exists at all
Mm,
times.
mm,
And so, especially when you're in hockey, and it's just the whole point of hockey is just time and space. If you don't have it, you're trying to get it, and ultimately, if the other team has the puck, like you're trying to take that away. So when you're reacting and how fast it is, you just need to be mindful of the dangers, especially just kind of running into the boards. So kind of a hard lesson learned. But also I kind of have the attitude of you do need to pay to play sometimes. Obviously sometimes the price is a little high, but it's definitely a lesson going forward that you need to kind of taper it back, and just be more mindful of kind of those surroundings, whether that's on ice hockey, skating, or really any other sport that you take. But I'm definitely going to be approaching it with much more caution. But I know that I'm going to be making sure that I'm putting in the work to come back stronger from this injury.
Yeah, and now I guess having said that, I'm gonna ask you kind of a deeper question on this. So,
Sure.
because I've never, I mean, I feel like it's for myself, for just to start this question off, is
Right.
like when I've been even remotely injured for like 2 weeks, let's say, because whether it's I got like runner's knee or I've hurt my knee on something or another, right? Like even just like 2 weeks off, I feel like does like a huge like mental disservice to myself with skating. And so I guess for you, like being out, like you're a very physical kind of dude. Like you're playing hockey, you're playing, you're out skating, like running all that jazz. Like, what does that do to your like mental well being in that time of like having to like not even just getting like you said earlier a bowl of cereal is tough.
Right.
Like
Right.
does that how much of a role does that play with your mental well-being, given I mean you're a pretty positive person in the most part, but I mean realistically speaking, what has that done for you?
Yeah. Yeah. No, dude, I'm really actually glad you brought that up because I don't I think this is kind of the dark side of like healing, as well, that a lot of people don't always realize that happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. 'Cause when your mobilization, your agency is essentially taken from you, right? Like you can't do
yeah.
normal things. You can't drive. Your independence is impacted,
Hmm.
right? So I think that does start to wear on you, and it definitely was wearing on me. I started forgetting what day it was, even around the holidays, as well, because that's when it had happened. There was a big impact for sure. And I think just kind of getting it day by day, because I think when you're in the thick of it and you're just laying up and you're just, you understand that you're going to get better, but it doesn't make it feel any better day to day. And it's hard because you really can't see the light at the end of the tunnel because you've got a big cast on your leg, and it's a big trip just to like get up the stairs to make some food. It's like Herculean, like I said, like just
Yeah.
your body does start to kind of um, reflect sort of your condition, right? And so you kind of think, is this going to be permanent? So I really have a newfound respect for people that have to battle physical disabilities every day, because the fact that they can show up and continue to be, you know, they understand their circumstance, but to really continue to accept their new normal
Yeah.
is a skill, right? And
Yeah.
and I think that's something that I think I had to kind of see. So any sort of little win that you can get, like, oh, I can put weight down, or I can do this. So it's, when your whole life at that point is like at a certain point, like, hey, if the only thing I'm going to put effort in is to just like put PT in, that's what I'm going to put my energy into. Because there's only so much Netflix you can watch, only so many games you can play, before you know that you want to get back to that. And you really realize, as down as you might be feeling,
Yeah.
that if whatever minimal energy you can gather just to do that towards like giving yourself 1% better,
Hmm.
because you're not going to see the light at the end of the tunnel until weeks down the line, but let's just kind of take what's in front of you as hard as it might be.
Yeah, that no, that's fair. That's completely fair. So, I mean, going off of that, you brought up that, there's only so many Netflix shows and games you can play. I mean, I imagine that factored into your injury here. Is there any like new things you've either watched or new games you've like got to another level on, or any sort of like things that don't require mobility that you've maybe found a new interest in, or because it's a long period of time. I mean, this isn't like 2 weeks from now you're good. Like this is what 6 to 8 weeks of just simply like recovery. That doesn't mean like immediately right back on the board. And plus, PT, which is a whole thing in itself, but like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I imagine there's a lot of hours sitting around at home as
Yeah.
well. So, is there any like things on the computer you've taken interest in, whether it's like YouTube videos or TikTok or anything?
Um, oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like, dude, yeah, I think I mean, honestly, in the beginning, obviously I was kind of deep diving Netflix, shout out Ozark, shout out Peaky Blinders. Let's go. Gotta watch it.
Okay,
Yeah, those are good ones.
sick.
But I would say like honestly, man, I kind of started brushing up on Duolingo because,
Ooh,
I honestly like been playing a bunch of chess. It was great to kind of start learning some new languages because my dad told me like you have this downtime, be productive, and he's right. Like you might as well. I had a bunch of books I wasn't quite literally reading, so now it's like a daily habit as well because Duolingo will bug me every day to be like,
yeah.
"Yep, keep your streak going." Yeah, exactly. So it's
What language? What
just little
language?
Spanish. I'm actually trying to learn. Spanish is a main one,
Un
and then
poquito
obviously I'm also
español.
yeah, exactly. I'm trying to learn like actually Swedish of all like languages, to be honest with you. Just little things like I don't know. Just it's kind of nice to kind of get exposed to
All
it.
right, all right. I'm
To
putting
just
you to the test. Hit me with a quick sentence in Spanish. Let's go.
oh, geez, Louise. Just like lo siento mi español es más o menos.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
Yeah, there you go.
okay. Let's go. What was the other language you said?
Everybody's like, dude, this kid has no accent. What are you doing?
Oh my
Oh
God. Wait,
man.
what's the other language you said?
Like Swedish, but I'm still super new to that, so I'm brand new and novice to that.
You're
But
doing
like
both at
just little things.
once.
What was that?
You're doing both at once.
Yeah, just I don't know, just kind of switch around a little bit and just have some fun with it. Like Duolingo makes it easy, so it's fun. But yeah, but dude, honestly, what I've really been doing on Duolingo, you can play chess on there. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So like I was just going crazy with the chess because like yeah, a lot of people surprisingly don't know how to play. So that was kind of that really helped kind of like occupy my mind a little bit more outside of just getting burned out from, shows and what have you. I could barely bring myself to watch skate videos, like at least initially, just because it was just like way too painful. Um, but yeah, man, I think just trying to stay productive because the time's gonna pass anyway. So any way you can kind of get through it, um, is really kind of the best way to do that. Like I just recently started, picking back up the acoustic guitar, seeing the background too, which is nice. So
Oh,
just little
yeah.
hobbies. So I guess like if you really think about it, there's been kind of a silver lining as well. Because I think sometimes when you're kind of head down into skating or head down into really anything, you kind of get those blinders to understand that sometimes you need to realize that you're kind of a multifaceted individual. And I know that's easier said than done when you got other obligations like work and this and just what have you. Um, but I think coming from this injury, you kind of realize like what's important to you and what you still have yet to explore. And that's kind of fun being a novice all over again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it might be a little bit different for you because I think I realized that about myself like at an early age where I was like, man, there's so much I can do, and it's like it's too hard for me just to like lock in on zone in on like one thing.
One
And
thing,
I'm
right?
like
Right.
dabbling all over the place, but it's cool. It's cool that you're able to like kind of have that moment to yourself now and realize like, hey, I can. There's a lot more that I'm capable of than just being tied to my whatever it might be
Right.
that you're into at the moment. And I think you yourself, I mean, seeing what you're capable of doing, just playing, I mean, let alone, I think there's people out there that would even argue that just skating and playing ice hockey is a lot. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, knowing that you're capable of both of those things is phenomenal. That, I mean, what other, is there anything else you've like picked up in recent times or like thought about dabbling into? Like, I know for a while you were on a little bit of I keep going back to it, but you were dabbling into social media for a little bit on like TikTok. We had a few conversations
Yeah.
about that. Have you like
Yeah.
thought about advancing that any?
A little bit, yeah. And obviously, when I was out, obviously you're not really in a position, or you're kind of in a vulnerable position to even post content, because I think
Mm.
for a while you kind of think like, oh, I got to post skating or ice hockey or whatnot for the content, just whatever your lifestyle is, right? Just as for,
Yeah.
because we are kind of in that interest economy right now, right? So like,
Yeah.
you see people putting out content of different facets of what they're doing. Hey, you were known for X, now I'm putting out this because people evolve, people have different hobbies, right? And I think I've definitely taken inspiration from other people, that I've seen online that have decided to completely switch lanes. Hey, I followed you for this, and now
Yeah.
you're doing this. But now because you kind of build a little bit of some online relationships sometimes with like some people, depending on how close you get.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to see them doing it. So then you start visualizing yourself to do that as well, which is great. But yeah, man, I think for social, I think obviously the biggest pivot, especially what we're doing now, is that obviously now that I'm in a much better spot, going through something traumatic like this, you want to be able to sort of tell your story as well, because you kind of learn. Sometimes you kind of have that false belief that you're all by yourself with this, but then you start, kind of searching online and seeing how many other people are still seeking that same support. So if it helps anybody going through a kind of a gnarly injury, whether it's through sports, an accident, what have you, just know that you're not alone, and that that content. Everyone loves a comeback story, right? Like insert Lindsey Vonn from the Olympics, right? I took a lot of inspiration from her and just how much of a warrior she is. Not that I paid a whole lot of attention to skiing, but just her attitude and just her mindset, I could just immediately relate to, since I was quite literally going through it to a much smaller degree, obviously.
Yeah.
So any sort of content that I can do kind of around kind of my story and getting back to it. Everyone loves a comeback story. So it's something that, again, that's, I think, kind of my biggest focus now, as
Where
we're kind of, getting on the other side of the injury.
Let me ask you this, because what you said there is, I think, easier said than done. And while I think it applies to a handful of people, I think there's another handful of subjective people out there that it doesn't apply to at all because of different situations or another. So what is your
Mhm.
what do you think gives you the most like motivation in order to have that kind of mindset? Because like there's a lot of content online and a lot of people in life that will just tell you like, oh yeah, it's all just it's like your mindset. Like, but
Yeah.
like a lot of
Right.
people don't. A lot of people are just like straight up like, I don't know, they've got depression or whatever it is. Like, what do you think it is that gets you motivated in order to get to those steps? I'm asking a
Yeah.
tough question. I really.
I think yeah, no, it's good. Like, I think the biggest thing for me is kind of realize, and it's gonna sound kind of corny, it's true, but like the fact that I know that, like, at least given my injury, that I'm giving, for more or less, like a second chance, like
Mm-hmm.
as far as getting back. It might take long, but I think it's one of those situations where, at least for my motivation, knowing how much like being active is kind of just a part of my identity, whether that's through
Mm.
skateboarding, snowboarding, hockey. Like, I knew that, like, come hell or high water, like, I'm gonna get back to it, and that I stopped worrying about the when and just worrying about, like, it's just a matter of time. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's because I think when you're in maybe kind of a darker headspace, like, to be real, you the real hard part is that most people don't have like a flag to stick in the ground. They're kind of floating. They don't
Mm-hmm.
know which way is up, which way is down. And so I think the thing that I've learned, and one of the benefits that I think of kind of getting a little bit older, is just having conviction in what your values are, right? And so to me, I just continue to come back to the idea of being active and inviting other people to join in, whether that's through a sport or activity, or just bringing them along just to spectate, because it's changed my life in so many ways and
Mm-hmm.
continues to do so. So I think you want to be able to share that and bring people along for the ride. Um, Regardless of the medium, whether it's a sport, an activity, like a culture around anything. And so I think what I refuse to believe is that you're not going to it's a matter of when. And so ultimately it's also like directly impacted, but for the amount of work that I do. And so when I was cleared for PT, it was like, hey, it's really up to you now.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, some days are easier than others, but I think the biggest thing that's helped me is just continuing to say, if the only thing on your plate is a daily deposit, I'm going to win the day every time, and keep those goals small,
Mm-hmm.
because once that's achievable for people that might not be in a headspace where most every day to day is kind of overwhelming. But if you give
Mm-hmm.
them a simple goal and everything after that as a bonus, they can win the day. And you do that one day, you do that tomorrow, you do the day after that. And before you know it, you look behind you and you've got a mountain of work there. You don't think about the end goal, because the journey kind of really is like the work that you do every day.
Damn. That was a good answer. God damn, I
So,
like that.
Toby answer.
That was great.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, that's a solid answer. Okay, so my next question here then. So we scratched on it a little bit, but PT wise, I know PT. I hear PT a lot from friends and those alike that have been injured, and I've even my dad, for example, had PT after he got his knee surgery done.
Mhm.
But I've seen what his PT was like, but I know each PT is different
Yeah.
based on your
Mhm.
injury. So because you said your injury is an injury that not a lot of people experience because it's such a specific one, what is your PT like? I mean, and you remind me again real quickly how long it takes, but what is like, yeah, what is it like something you're going home, they're giving you this set of like tools to go home and stretch this thing, or do you have to go in each day and fight the stairs to go into PT? Like what is this like?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going twice a week right
Mhm.
now as well. So a lot of it will be soft tissue work, at least initially to start. But the biggest thing is sort of just kind of working up the chain because at this point, the soft tissue is essentially air quotes healed. That's where the non-weight bearing comes in. But now you have to think because you're non-weight bearing for 6 to 8 weeks, you now have to build up all of that muscle loss from the
Oh.
ankle all the way up. So this includes like your calf, like your knee, your quad, your hamstrings, your glutes, that's why that timeline gets added on. So you're not just fixing sort of the mobility of your ankle, which is obviously the main point, but also, all that muscle loss to build up that strength because you realize very quickly how connected everything is. So just basic exercises of range of motion. We've been doing a lot of banded ankle mobilization exercises, which they do in the NHL, which kind of pulls your ankle back to kind of try to get that knee over to the toe. Whenever you're kind of flexing up your ankle, that's called dorsiflexion. My dorsiflexion, which is very common in ankle injuries, is very limited, usually the last thing to come by. So the fact that I'm even getting anywhere near my knee over my toe is like a big win for
Oh
me.
wow.
Because you're going to need a lot of that flex from skating, from all the impact that you take for ice skating just to kind of turn. So you're really cranking a lot of torque on that ankle. So it can't just be, hey, this is good enough. We actually need to get it to a point where you're beyond baseline
Now
pre-injury.
can I ask you like a really dummy question because I've never had
No, not
PT,
all. Go ahead.
but
Sure.
okay, so you're telling me that there's like specific instructions that you have to do, like get your ankle over your knee and like all this stuff, right? Okay. Why is it that you're telling me you have to actually go in twice a week? Like what is it that they're making you physically be there for that they can't say, "Hey Steve, this is what we need you to do on Tuesday. Try this, use these ropes and that." Like why is it that you have to go in? I know it's the dumbest question
Yeah,
ever, but
mainly because they need to monitor the progress. So like my PT needs to see me like on a week to week basis to kind of show the progress to my surgeon as
gotcha.
well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the biggest thing from there is the fact that they need to kind of because they're monitoring the progress and documenting it, right? Like it wasn't
Gotcha.
even like a month ago that I could barely get to neutral to my foot
Mm.
for dorsiflexion. Now we're getting to like 3 degrees. For reference,
Mm.
whenever you walk typically it's usually from heel to toe. It's more like dorsiflexion of like 10 degrees. Running
Wow.
is more like 15 degrees because you're kind of cranking that knee over the toe.
Yeah.
So like they're trying to monitor and track that progress to show that the exercises that they're doing are working and that they'll adjust sort of that PT plan based on where you're progressing through the exercises.
Oh, see now I'm learning
Right.
something. I didn't know there was like a
Yeah.
whole thing of they have to like the doctor stays in touch after and checks the progress and all
Yeah.
that. So is there like a point of the PT where he might look at it and go, "Hey Steve, we you didn't hit this point of it. We need you to rework this muscle or whatever." Like is the doctor, the physician or doctor, whatever their title, the surgeon, whoever calling you and saying, this is your update on it, blah blah, blah. Like how does that work?
Yeah, so it's really the main point of contact that I have is like your physical therapist, and obviously they speak with the surgeon, and you'll have post ops like every 2 months or so, just kind of checking on the progress, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
And they'll take X-rays and whatnot just to kind
Mm.
of monitor your progress, and like
Okay.
again, they're getting those daily sort of reports from or those weekly reports from your PT just
Mhm.
on hey, here's what I see, here's where it's progressing, here's where we need to kind of work on it because they understand it's everybody's different, right? Everyone's recovery timeline is different. The biggest thing too is to making sure that like the form that you're doing it, as far as your reps are concerned, are doing that correctly. And so he even told me, at least in the beginning, we want you to feel some pressure, but if there's ever pain, stop. Because your
Oh,
brain is sort of kind of registering from like all of the exercise you're doing. And the best thing that he told me at the beginning was even a bad rep is still a rep. But
oh,
the one thing that's inexcusable is not doing the reps.
wow. Okay,
Right.
okay. So that okay, so that all the reps that you're doing, all of them regardless, go a long way in order. It's like you were saying, it's small steps at a time to get to
Right.
where you need to be.
Correct. Mhm.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I've never been injured in this sort of degree, so I don't know. So is this? Let me ask you this question then. I imagine this having a surgery like this is a pretty costly endeavor, isn't it?
Right.
Oh,
Can be.
God, man,
Yeah.
that's
I I do I have even a like story on this one too. The new job that I had started
uh-huh.
didn't start its benefits until the month later. So technically, when I got injured, the timing on this was
Oh,
like literally the worst it ever could have been because I was in
oh,
between insurance basically. So really at that point, basically what had happened is when I got hurt, I technically was uninsured because I just left my old job, just started a new job as well. Um, and so ultimately, in regards to that, the biggest thing for me was I had to use Cobra to kind of you pay like the government 600 for retroactive insurance, basically.
yeah.
And so I lucked out because my surgery was early December. And so towards the end of the year, I was already kind of maxed out for my deductible. So somebody up above is definitely looking out for me because I was able to hit my out-of-pocket max. So the
Wow.
surgery, I'll give you a number if you
I
want.
mean, you don't have to give a
If
number
I
if you don't.
didn't
I'm not
have
asking.
insurance,
You don't have to give me an exact number unless you want to. I don't really.
if you want to guess, I'll tell you. Like we could make it a game.
I mean, it's up to your own comfortability with it.
It's all right. It's all right, man. I think the biggest thing for me was it was at least it was upwards north of 40
Oh
without insurance.
man.
Yeah.
Oh.
But with the insurance, because it was medically necessary, I luckily was able to kind of skirt a lot of that cost. And I was very lucky with my surgeon because he ended up being the former physician for the LA Kings, the Anaheim Ducks, and the X Games of all people.
Wow.
Yeah, so he
Holy
was definitely the guy
smokes.
to go to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would hope
Yeah,
so. If a cost of that nature, and I would also hope that a surgery need to be done of a thing again that you said doesn't happen to many people. I would hope that this is
right.
someone that works with hockey players that is at least
Right.
maybe worked on this style of injury before and or
Right.
something in this field because that would be frightening if this person didn't have those things.
Didn't have those credentials. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that would
Yeah,
be a
yeah, yeah.
nightmare.
So I mean, he's been great, man, and shout out Dr. Morgan, man. If you're ever in the South Bay, I'll definitely
Uh
recommend him.
huh.
But he's been great, and I would say that to anybody who's maybe kind of staring down a pretty gnarly injury. That if you're in a position to be very selective with your care. And I've got nothing but good things to say with my, the PT and the surgeon team that I was able to kind of go with, because it really does make the difference. The quality of care that you choose is huge. So I think sometimes it's very overwhelming when you first get hurt. You got to sort out a lot of details, and the healthcare system here in the States is not great
We need
as well.
socialized healthcare. Come on.
Ex- Exactly. So,
Oh.
but as much as they're a team that's very knowledgeable, they certainly made me feel at ease as well. Even going through surgery and even going under for it as well. I woke up. I mean, they in the operating room after it, like blink, ready to go, and they were handing me water and Oreos, and it was already done.
Water and
So it just
Oreos?
yeah, yeah, dude, it was crazy. I went in there at 5 in the morning. They just marked the spot, and to be fair, they told me everything that they were gonna do, so they made me feel as comfortable as possible as far as going into the operating room. I just remember them putting the mask on. They said, "Hey, like we're administering
Mask?
the medicine now," and
Huh?
like what's crazy thing about anesthesia, dude, you just wake up. It's like a time warp. That was it, dude. It was done. They were handing me water. It was 9 in the morning. They're like, "Yeah, man, we'll just keep you here for an hour, see how you do, and you get to go home." And I was like,
Oh God.
"Cool."
Oh God, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was
dude.
nuts. So yeah, it's definitely a surreal experience for
Oh
sure.
God, that's crazy. Oh God, that like I got to give a lot of kudos to you for going through this, man. It's like my biggest fear in life. I have this overwhelming fear of getting injured. And I sound like an insane person saying it or
Oh
him, but
yeah, same.
I always say this. I'm like, God forbid I break an ankle or something. I'm like, I'm leaving that shit broken the rest of my life. like,
Like let it heal
like
naturally. It's fine.
man, you know about like the hair surgery that I got. Like, even just that was like incrementally like pe- like a doom on my life. Just like the little like that fact that it even had the word surgery within the title of it,
Right.
like hair surgery, freaked me out enough. And it wasn't even like they had to cut my head open either. And that tells you how scared I am of surgery. So I gotta really tip my hat to you for this, because this is like, oh man, my biggest
Yeah.
nightmare ever.
I'll say this, man. Especially, it's natural to have that anxiety, and I know a lot of people can relate to it. I will tell you this, man. Like, um, on the other side of it, they do make you feel very comfortable. So I think the anxiety is just kind of the lead up to it, but the actual process of going through it and on the other side of it, easy breezy, dude. Like
Does it
honestly,
not?
it's
But
it.
your stitches, like you got stitches from this, right? Do
Yeah,
you not
yeah.
look at
So
your
it
stitches
wasn't.
and
I will say like the gnarliest part about it after post op was when the nerve block wore off. That was pretty brutal. Like if I'm being really honest, because they'll give you a nerve block to make sure that you can't feel anything from like the knee down or just where the
yeah?
injury site is. So when you come out of surgery, you don't feel anything. It's like, dude, like no one, like you can knock, but no one's home down there, you know? And it's fine because there's no pain, but like once that nerve block wears off
Oh
24, 48
hell
hours,
no! You bet
you
I'm
go from
telling them.
feeling,
I'm taking every nerve block, whatever nerve block pill in
yeah,
the universe after that. Shit.
yeah. I will say like on a pain scale, that was probably a 7.5, 8 out of 10. Like that
Oh,
was pretty brutal.
what did you do to
Yeah.
curve that?
Um, what was that?
What did you do to curve that, or like, yeah, to like get around it?
Yeah, so honestly, like even trying to get ahead with the painkillers that they gave me barely helped, if I was being honest, because it kind of goes from 0 to 1. Like it kind of helped a little bit, but the biggest thing I'll tell people for any sort of extremity, elevate your leg because it feels like it's going to explode basically if you don't like if you keep it down because all of that blood pools basically to kind of help because it's not very good
Oh,
circulation in the way like as well. So if you can elevate, that would
oh,
be the first tip I would say. Anybody going through like a foot, ankle, knee injury, any sort of lower extremity injury, like I know you hear it, but like man, that at least got me at least to something tolerable.
mm-hmm.
And your body adapts too, right? So like day one is brutal, day two is, like it's a little bit better, but your body normalizes sort of that pain tolerance like as well. So it does get better, it does get a little bit more manageable. But just that's I think what is what makes it hard, at least in the beginning. But anybody who's going through it, I tip my cap, man. It's definitely pretty brutal.
Oh God, yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Man, was there anything
Yeah.
else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover as far as like this injury? I feel like we got into a lot of different things. I'm just wondering if there's anything else that you didn't talk about yet.
I mean, kind of to cap it off, man, I think the biggest thing is like, I mean, you hear the word gratitude all the time, like, oh, I'm so grateful. But like, this kind of gives like a new meaning to the word for me because you don't realize, like, man, this can be taken away from you really at any time. Like, I
Hmm.
literally was like working a new job, was coming straight from my work, straight down to the game. And before I know it, I didn't plan to be in the hospital later that night, you know?
Yeah.
So like you never want to sort of be a doomsday person, but the biggest thing I would say is like, if you're kind of busy or you're stressed out, like carve out the time to like do something you really enjoy. Because I realized at least prior to the injury, like most people, you get busy, you're kind of running on all like fumes and what have you. So when you're kind of forced to slow down and really think, it does kind of really make you evaluate like what matters to you, what do you care about, like what are you passionate about,
Hmm.
and regardless of how busy life might take you, to like really carve out the time to do it, like put it like on the schedule, like hey, I'm going to go skate, like no matter how busy it is, I'm carving out the time to find time on my board, or find, even if it's solo, even if you can't meet up with the homies, or even if you can't meet up at the park, right? Like like if you love something, like you'll continue to do it. And I think just those daily deposits of intentionally, the key word here is intentionally doing it, really kind of like you don't look at it, oh, I'll do it when I have free time. You carve out that time to do it because I think ultimately in those rare events that it does get taken away from you, like an injury, you're going to be wishing you did it more because there's never enough times that you can do it enough, especially when it's with friends and people you care about.
Damn, that's a wow. That was phenomenal. It's really good advice for people that are going through that and trying to make the best of it and trying to, prevail through a horrific injury. And I think it's good advice for people to look even. I think there's things you've said in there that even apply to people that aren't injured that I think people can
Mhm. Yeah,
use
absolutely.
in their daily life. So, yeah, I think you've, for the most part, I mean, obviously it's grueling. It's a horrific thing that you don't wish happened, but at the end of the day, you've got the right tools in your pocket, it sounds like, and have the right people around you, and you've got the things to make it through it. I don't think you're gonna die.
Definitely not. I'm coming out the other side, man. But yeah, we're still in the thick of it, still off the board and off the ice for maybe a month or so. I'll probably
Hmm.
get some news here with my surgeon later this month. So hopefully good news. I would hope. But like I said, things are looking way up compared to where I was back in mid-November, and just really taking like a whole new lease on life as far as kind of really approaching it and being
Hmm.
really just grateful that any day I get to be on my board, be with friends, be on the ice, what have you. Just man, what a gift that is. And so, I want to do it for myself and be an example for other people that might be going through it
Hmm.
to know like, hey, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It might be long, but like the time's gonna pass anyway. Just
Hmm.
having an anchor and a flag in the ground is something that I think anybody who's kind of going through a tough time mentally, physically, what have you,
Hmm.
needs to kind of set their sights on by any way that they need to.
Oh, sick. Well, dude, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to
Yeah.
explain your experience with this injury and giving some good advice and talking about the throes of this whole thing.
Yeah,
So I appreciate you explaining that and talking about it. And obviously, I hope the best with your recovery. Hope you get
yeah, man.
to your full recovery stage soon, so you can get back on the ice and board and back to the groove, back to doing your thing.
I agree, man. I owe you a session just in time for summertime shy, man. So when I cruise back for a visit, man, yeah, we're hitting up all the city spots for sure.
Hell yeah, let's do it. All right, hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this episode, all right? And we will talk to you later. Peace.